Hey everybody, it's Beth from Yoga and Reiki Bliss, and I'm popping in today with a little cat-cow exploration. So for our practice today, we'll need a mat or something soft to kneel on, a blanket, and either a book or a block, or two books and two blocks, something like that. All right, so let's hop on the mat. And so cat-cow is one of these kind of quintessential yoga pose combination that when I asked my students in class the other day, from folks who have been practicing less than a year to folks who have been practicing for many, many years, they all raised their hands when I said, when have you done, how many of you have done cat-cow before? And all hands went up. So it's kind of like a staple movement. And I think there are just so many wonderful benefits of this combination of movements. But I want to spend time on exploring it beyond what you might do in a typical class where maybe you do a few rounds and you move on. So we're going to play with some variations so you can have different experiences and bring a little freshness to it. So let's come on to hands and knees. And I'd love you to take your knees as wide as your two hip points so that you're starting from a stable base of support. And with your hands, I'd love you to place them as wide as your shoulders and walk the hands just a little bit so that the front of the shoulder is hovering over the underside of the wrist. And we'll spread the fingers so that even here you've got a nice solid foundation. Now, I'd love you to just soften the head a little bit and find your breath. Turn your attention inward. And take a long, generous breath in and out. And so establish that rhythm of your breath. And let the rhythm of the breath begin to dictate movement. So with your next exhale, go ahead and round into your cat pose. And then when you inhale, we'll move into our cow pose, letting the tail lift, letting the heart lift. Keep your strong arms pushing the ground away and use the whole length of your exhale to round into your cat. And use the whole length of your inhale to move into cow. Let's do it again. And I'd love you to start to pay attention to where you feel the movement initiating. So if the breath is leading you, what body part moves first? And do that one more time. And then let's come back to the center, where you're right in the middle. If you need a little break, you can shake out your hands, wiggle around. So when we do these next 3 rounds, I'd love you to think about initiating the movement from your pelvis. So the breath is still going to be happening, but let's let the pelvis guide us into the shape. So let's start in neutral, soften the head just a little, turn your attention to your breath. And when you exhale next, feel your pelvis tilt back so the tail tucks under and let that sensation of rounding ripple through the length of the spine. Then let the pelvis tilt forward so the tail lifts and walk that gentle back bend through the whole length of the spine and keep pushing the ground away. Eventually your head comes into the shape again from the pelvis, curl and round. In from the pelvis, move into the spinal extension, the little back bend. And let's do that one more time. So that's our first variation. And then we'll come back to neutral. All right, let's take a little break on those hands and come to your elbows and take a few cat and cows here and notice how this feels. What feels like it moves the most? So the next time you exhale again, curl and round. Where does the movement feel more restricted in this version of cat and cow? And go ahead, when you're ready to inhale, lift the tail, lift the heart. And just do this 3 times. So 2 more of these, just so you can have this experience. Just again, noticing where you feel more movement, where you feel less movement. Last time. And then we'll come back to the center. All right, let's walk back to hands and knees. Now, we let the pelvis lead us. I'm going to see what happens if we were to let the head lead us. So let your fingers spread. We've got a few more variations to go. Give a little push of the ground away. When you exhale, bow your head toward your heart and let the upper back round, the middle back, the lower back, the pelvis. And then when you inhale, let the head lead you into the little back bend so that your tail is the last thing to come into place. Keep pushing that ground away so you get that nice lift out of your shoulders. I find this one really hard to let my head lead the movement. Let's do that one more time. Bow your head. Round your upper back, your middle back, your lower back, your pelvis. When you inhale, let the head start to lead the heart forward into that little back bend. And then we'll come back to neutral. Okay. Again, you might take a little shake out. So the next one now, I want to think about the abdominals leading the way. And this one I really like. This one I learned from my teacher, Judith Lassiter, as well as her daughter, Lizzie, and her co-teacher, Mary Richards. And so the idea being that the abdominal muscles drawing in and up, creating the flexion in the spine. So taking advantage of what the one of the movements of the abdominals is to, contract and bring closer the ribs and the pelvis. So we're going to try that. And I will say before we come on to hands and knees, any of these you could do sitting in a chair. You could do this at work. You could do this probably standing. I don't know, maybe not in the grocery store, but if you can't get down to the ground, you could sit in a chair. You could stand on the wall, and do it. I'm going to show you from here though, because I think it has a lovely impact. And because if you go to a, yoga class or you have your own yoga practice, chances are you're going to be on a mat. But just know you can always play around with them in a chair, at a wall. So there are more variations than we'll even do today. All right, so back in hands and knees. Again, your knees still about hips width, your hands shoulder width, with the front of your shoulders over the undersides of your wrists. Spread your fingers. Give that little push of the ground away. So we're not getting too sunk into the shoulders here. Again, let the head soften toward the heart. Connect to your breath. Again, find your inhale. And when you exhale, draw your abdominals in. Draw everything up toward the spine, like the belly was hollowing, and let that broaden and widen the back of your body. And then when you inhale, begin to let the belly soften and lengthen so that you stretch the pubic bone back, the heart, even the throat a little forward, opening up the distance across and along the front of the body. As you exhale, hug the belly in and up. Let that draw the front body towards each other. Let the back of your body get wide and broad. And when you inhale, Let the belly soften and open, become a little more receptive. Feel that space from the pubic bones to your throat. Let's do it like that one more time. Again, as you hug the belly in and up, even imagine all of your abdominal organs drawing in and up into the body. And then let the belly soften, let the abdominal muscles soften toward the abdominal muscles so they get a nice opening. And then we'll come back. I really like that one. All right. Now, what happens if you bring your hands closer? And now, that's going to be the one thing we change is bringing the hands closer. I'd love you to stay with your breath. You can move either from the pelvis first, from the head first, from the abdominals first. But just change that one variable of the hands now very close together. Still underneath your shoulders. Your hips still over your knees still hips width. Give a push away. Again, let's soften the head so we can connect to the breath. And when you exhale, we'll curl and round into cat in whatever way you want, from the pelvis to the head, from the head to the pelvis, from the abdominal organs, or maybe there's something I haven't thought of yet. And then we'll inhale into cow from here. And just notice as you change this base of support, does that change anything in the way you feel in terms of your stability? Does it change anything in the way the arms and the shoulders, even the shoulder blades, receive the shape? And let's do one more. And then we'll come back to neutral. All right. Again, you can take a little break, shake you out. The next variable I'd like to change is to bring your knees together. So we'll really narrow the base of support. Now, mind you, if this feels totally unstable to you, widen the hands again and keep the knees together. But I'd love to try it here with the knees and the hands together. Super narrow base of support. Take a breath in. When you're ready to exhale, we'll curl and round and just see. Right? Does this change the way your pelvis responds in the shape, the way your hips feel? Does it affect your lower back differently? And the answer could always be no, I don't really feel anything differently. The answer could be I don't know. But I always think the value comes in the observation. I'm going to do one more cat and one more cow. And then we'll come back to neutral. Okay, good. All right, now here's where we're going to bring in some props. Now, one way you could do it is put two hands on your blocks or your books. That would have a different experience for sure. What I am curious about is with one hand on a block or book and one hand on the ground. So come back to our original table. Knees as wide as your hips. Hands as wide as your shoulders. The front of the shoulders over the undersides of the wrists, your fingers spread. Now let's take a block under your right hand, but evenly press the block and the earth away. So you've got now a little rotation going on, right? You've got a little rotation of your chest toward the right side. We're going to try to keep that feeling and move into cow and cat. So find your breath again. And when you're ready to exhale, curl and round into your cat. And when you inhale, lift the tail and lift the heart. And notice how this feels through both the right and the left sides. I'm particularly noticing it through my shoulder blade area. And then we'll meet back in the middle. And then, of course, let's check it in on the other side so that we don't leave you imbalanced. So again, try to keep both elbows pretty straight so we're not bending the left elbow to level out the shoulders. You will have a twist. Your left shoulder will be a little higher than your right shoulder, so your ribs are twisting toward the left a bit. And let's try our twisted cat and cow here. Staying with that breath. Wow, this feels very different in my body. I'm wondering what it feels like for you. Maybe you'll send me an email and let me know. Okay. When you're ready, come on back to the center. All right, friends, those are just some variations to play with. We won't do it together today, but a couple of um, couple of months ago, I shared another little tidbit about the breath and cat and cow. So while we often round into cat on the exhale and inhale into cow, that would be a whole nother variation to change the breathing pattern. To inhale into the rounding of cat might be really lovely to breathe into the back of the lungs, and to exhale into cow and just feel the way when the diaphragm, the abdominal muscles, even the lungs aren't full, what that experience of spinal extension feels like. So play, have fun is the gist of this note. Play, have fun, explore. Remember, our practice is never static. It's never not growing. We're always welcome to explore. And so I hope that you will bring that sense of exploration and curiosity into your practice the next time you're on your mat, the next time you're doing cat. All right, friends. Thank you so much. You know where to reach me. thisisyourbliss.com. And certainly on the socials at This Is Your Bliss as well. I'll look forward to seeing you real soon.